I told you I'm here to get it, cause baby I'm in my prime. So if you want it, come with it, nobody dimming my shine. Been a long time, homie, since I first got down. Still on top of my game, forever play to the crowd. When I'm in front of a mic and I'm in the spotlight, the gridiron, man, we taking y'all on a flight. Always coming for the hardcore, this is what I work for. Got a feeling for some more, they yelling encore. Verbally, I'm bringing heat to the streets. The flames spitter, my squad, nothing but winners, and you'll never see a quitter. Cause adversity is part of the plan. Just as sure as you go, always bob your head to the jam. So turn your volume up, you can see me up on your screen. Kicking knowledge like you need it, y'all some football fiends. Bringing heat at 100, we the realest around. Welcome to the gridiron, baby, it's going down now. Like the music buzzing in amps. When I hit the end zone, fans are rocking the stands. Cause I'm an all-be known until the break of the dawn. Not Zeke, but I'ma eat the way I'm seeing the field. It's the battle hymn, homie, gonna bang in your ear. And when they hear it, they gon' know the Kings is here. All-be known until the break of the dawn. Not Zeke, but I'ma eat the way I'm seeing the field. I'm here to get mine, never gonna dwell on the past. Always moving forward, I won't take my foot off the gas. And I'm ready for the battle and whatever may come. I fight from up in the saddle, go and beat that war drum. If you want some, get some. Wicked about to get dumb. Got the crowd getting loud, everybody heads sprung. Hitting hard and coming stronger like a buck from a cage. Like Micah, I'm a lion busting out of my cage. Cause y'all ain't holding me now, I'll break your bury you down. Go and check your books, cause there ain't no play to be found. They can counter what I'm bringing, you ain't figure me out. Hitting suckers from their gut to their chest and their mouth. And now we steady climbing up to the top. You trying to get on our level, they watch your ass get dropped. Yo, it's your boy on the track, the OG double G. I'm rolling with the heavy hitter, yeah, that's Jerzey the King. Let's get it.
Let's get it. We got a lot to talk about today, my brother. It's week 2 of the UFL.
Yes,
we got some special guests, man, and I'm so happy to have these two gentlemen.
Hey, real quick, man. You just said it's week 2 of the UFL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did somebody tell Memphis fans that? Because it looks like I'm watching a USFL game on TV here, man. Where's everybody at? I thought they were excited about football this spring out in Memphis.
I don't know what's going on, man, but
I'm watching this game. I'm like, am I watching a replay of last year? The USFL on TV? Because I see no fans in the stands, man. Memphis, get it together, baby. Let's go.
Listen, y'all.
What's up, y'all?
We got a lot to talk about. We got 2 special guests, and we got an hour to do it. So, you already know what it is. Welcome to the gridiron, baby. It's going down. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome in. Happy Saturday to everyone. It's week 2 of the UFL, and this is the Gridiron, presented to you by Fuel and Pro Football Alliance, live on Fuel Sports Network, powered by Gateway City Sports. You can download your Fuel Sports Network channel on Roku and Amazon TV and devices. I am your host, Jerzey the King, Mr. JTK himself, and to my left, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the wicked one, the OG double G.
Damn, bro. Man, I feel like that, bro.
What's up, brother? Oh, he got some storm issues going on in there, man. But listen, y'all. Until Gabe comes back, listen, we got a packed show for you guys today. We got the doctor. The doctor, y'all. Former head coach of the Vegas Vipers, Dr. Anthony Blevins, will be joining us. And with that being said, hold on, y'all. I think Dr. Blevins is already here and ready to go with us. Good morning, doctor. How are you?
Welcome. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Gabe's having some technical difficulties. I'm going to remove him real quick. But
right.
Welcome into the show. Welcome to the Gridiron.
I appreciate it. Appreciate you having me.
Definitely. Like I told you before we got started, I've been trying to get you on at least the Gridiron or the Fan Gang Nation show for a long time, and I'm blessed and honored to have you here. And joining us today, you may not know him, but his name is Evan Willsmore. He is a 19-year-old director of player personnel for the Indoor Football League's Vegas Knighthawks team. Ladies and gentlemen, Evan Willsmore. Welcome into the show, bro. How are you?
Good. I appreciate you having me on, taking the time, supporting our team. It's all good and well.
Awesome to have you here, man. If you guys don't know, like I said, we have the former head coach, still current head coach. Don't care what nobody says, because Vegas is coming back. Doggone it. We're coming back. And I hope and pray that, Coach, you are the coach for us moving forward when Vegas does come back to the UFL. But we have Dr. Anthony Blevins in the house and Evan Willsmore here joining us today. And we're going to talk a lot of football. We're going to get into what the IFL is all about. For those of you who do not know what the IFL is, it's the Indoor Football League. And we're going to catch up on what Doc has been doing, what Coach Blevins been doing. You know what I mean? So I hope you guys are ready now. Evan's going to join us for the entirety of the show. I'm waiting for Gabe to come back in. He's having some technical difficulties. There's a storm out there in Las Cruces right now, so he's having some weather issues, but we'll have him back in a second. But Evan, thank you for joining us today. I know that you've got a busy schedule being the director of player personnel. Coach Blevins, I know you're a busy man, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I want to jump right into it.
Right.
How did you get into coaching after your playing days were done? Because a lot of people don't know. I did a lot of research. You played in the original iteration of the XFL.
I did. I did. I played when the Vince McMahon version, the NBC, all of that. So I played with the Birmingham Thunderbolts. I was there. Jerry DiNardo was the head coach, and it was really, really fun. But for me, unfortunately, I tore my knee up. It was ACL, MCL, PCL at the same time. And so that was really kind of the last time I played any type of football professionally. And, I tried to work and get back. And then as you get older and, you just transition off into the next deal. But really, long story short, how I really got into coaching was a guy, James West. So I had coached at Alabama State for 1 year, and he was the D-line coach. And even further than that, I met James. I was playing in the RFL, Regional Football League, down in Mobile, Alabama, played there. And James was the D-line coach. So James is a former CFL player in the Hall of Fame in the CFL, in the Ring of Honor up in Winnipeg, just an unbelievable human being. And, we got kind of close during that time when he was coaching. And he just always said, you should coach. I think you should coach. I think that's your calling. You're smart, you can get everybody lined up, you can do this, you can do that. And, so after the season, we win the championship. And after the season, I'm back in Birmingham, my hometown. And he calls me and he says, I've just taken a head job at Alabama State University. Or not the head job, but taking a D-line job at Alabama State University. And we're looking for a DB coach. Would you be interested? And, and I jumped on the opportunity, went down there. And that was my first introduction to coaching, coached that season. And it was really, I had a great time. But after that, I got out of it. I did some other things, tried to return to playing, did corporate America. And, and then, I met some people there was a guy, George Pugh, who coached me at UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham. And he had left UAB, went to University of Arkansas, and I was actually trying to start playing again and did a workout. It was some guys from the University of Arkansas. So we started talking about George, and it was like, where is he now? Because he had left Arkansas. And eventually, there's somebody that's like, he's in Alabama. Somebody says he's in Atlanta. Somebody said he's in Dallas, whatever the case may be. And then eventually I got his number and I called him. And at the time I was living in Atlanta, and he had just taken a head high school job in Atlanta, Georgia. And I called him. He offered me to come coach for him. I was like, no, I'm done with coaching. I don't want to do this anymore. At the time I was doing some real estate investing and some personal training, and life was pretty good at that point for me. And so I went up there one day, went up to the high school, and just kind of hung around with him, ate some lunch, and we ended up, just the time we had spent, it just flew by. So in the afternoon, I'm still there, and his kids start coming in for workouts in the afternoon. And at that point, he had only hired one coach, so it was him and another guy, and basically with 40 or 50 kids running around. And I was like, well, I'll tell you what, I'll help you until you get your staff hired. And I ended up doing it about 2 weeks, and that was it. That was, I fell in love with the coaching bug at that particular point in time. And the rest of it's history. I just kind of took it, did high school for 2 years, was a grad assistant at Mississippi State with Sylvester Croom, who was the first African-American head coach in the SEC at that particular point in time. And then I've just been blessed along my journey, to be honest with you. Just been around really good people for the most part, people that I really enjoy, and people I'm still close with in a lot of instances to this day.
Awesome, man. That's a story. That is a story, man. And to see your journey, how was it like coaching in the NFL?
It was great. It really was good, but it was still about the relationships. It was still about the people, and everything we do it always comes back to people. When you're around good people, it makes it easy, makes it fun. Arizona was my first NFL team, the Arizona Cardinals. Went out there in 2013 under head coach Bruce Arians, and we had a great time. I mean, we had a really, really good time out there, won a bunch of games. Bruce is, in the 5 years we were out there, Bruce is the winningest head coach in Cardinals history. I think he won over the course of 5 years, won 50 games over the course of 5 years. NFC championship game in that. We had a good time, but he set the tone, he set the culture, he hired really good coaches. Tabo was one of them. Mike Caldwell, who's actually the linebacker coach there in Vegas now, was the DC in Jacksonville the last couple of years. So we had a really, really, really good staff, out there.
Definitely. Gabe, you got anything for him? Evan, you got anything for him?
Actually, so when you're looking at you coaching up at the NFL level, and then of course you're talking about spring football, with the XFL. What are the differences? I mean, obviously the NFL is a much bigger stage. The markets that you were in were obviously a lot, covered a lot more highly, and the expectations. But in terms of preparation and week to week, and the guys that you bring in, is there a lot of big differences?
As far as preparation, no. I mean, first down, second down, third down, third down, and the same things that you talk about in the NFL are the same, truths that hold true in whether it's high school, pee wee, college, whatever, blocking, technique, fundamentals, getting off blocks, making the plays that are there for you. So it always comes back to technique and fundamentals. And if you remember that on any level, and I don't care what sport it is, if it's basketball, if it's baseball, football, whatever it is, it's going to always come back to the techniques and fundamentals, and then I truly believe that. So there's not a lot of difference in how you prepare. There's some differences in the players, obviously, being in, NFL, some of these guys in the UFL, XFL, USFL, they're really good players. They're really talented. They just need time to play, to understand the game on a higher level. And this is their opportunity to do that. And spend a year in this league, a year, just playing the game, on a professional level, it can make all the world of difference when they get their shot to play in the NFL. I think there's been a lot of guys. What's the returner in Dallas? Kevontae Turpin.
Kevontae Turpin. Yeah.
Yeah, he got his opportunity and just took off with it. And there's been there's a couple instances like that where guys just needed an opportunity to play, to get more film, to learn a little bit more, to get maybe a little bit stronger, a little bit faster. Those are the instances that where these type of leagues, the XFL, UFL, have been good for players.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and a couple of weeks ago, I did an interview with Caleb Van Der Esch of the Arlington Renegades, and it was interesting to hear from him about talking about it from a player's perspective. And he's we're talking about the importance of spring football as related to the NFL, and it's almost like exactly what you just said. He says, it keeps guys busy, it helps them keep developing their game, and it keeps us with film. And then he said almost the same thing. He said, as long as you understand and remember everything you've been taught from when you started playing football, he says, and you bring that to the field at any level, he says you'll be ready to go, and at least ready to kind of get out there and keep developing as a player. So I kind of just hearing what you just said just reminded me of that a little bit.
Right, definitely. Hey, Evan, you got anything for Coach?
But I think the one question I was going to ask was just like, and you kind of already answered it, but just in terms of, NFL talent compared to, XFL or UFL talent, like, did you think there was any discrepancy? I guess the better question now would be, did you think that the rosters in a league like the XFL, or UFL, whatever you want to call it now, would you say those were more diverse than the NFL? Just because there's always kind of been a saying in the NFL, you got to be the best of the best to play in that league. And you do get some of these stories, I think, every now and then of guys, who break through and who weren't supposed to be there. Like I was watching a video on Malcolm Butler the other day, a guy played D2, all that. But I just wanted to get your kind of grasp on, roster construction at the XFL level and what you saw, during your brief period of time there.
Well, like far as building a roster, I think it's, you got to find guys that can do multiple things. In order to, you think about the league, in order to stick around and be a quote unquote one trick pony, you've got to be really, really good. Like you've got to be exceptional. You've got to be Justin Jefferson, Larry Fitzgerald. You've got to be in that top tier of the roster. But everybody else has got to play, special teams. And special teams are important because usually a guy that's coming from the UFL, that's how he's going to break in first and foremost. He's going to break in through a kicking game. And if you can't play in the kicking game, but you're going to be the fourth or fifth wideout, you're not going to be the fourth and fifth wideout if you're not playing on special teams. You're going to be the sixth or seventh wideout, and you're going to be out the door because there's a limited spots. Like on the NFL, it's 53 on the active, and then there's another. I forget what the practice squad number is now. I think it's it's 14 or something like that. But you want to be active because let's be honest, there's a big difference in money between practice squad and active roster, and
oh yeah,
and it comes down to money. So in this league, there's an active roster of 50, but on game day there's 42 active. I believe it's 42 in the UFL. So you want to be in that 42. You don't want to be in that. You don't want to be in that 43 to 50 spot. The guys that aren't dressing. But there's a big difference in money, even in the UFL. So you got to find guys that can do multiple things, play multiple spots, that can be creative. Like in Vegas's team last year, Brian Burt was a guy that fit that mold. Was a running back, could play receiver. So you could create multiple roles with him by being creative about how you built, things for him, build the package for him. He can play running back. You hand it off to him, put him in the backfield, motion him out, get a mismatch on a linebacker, and now he was a receiver in college. Now he's running routes on a linebacker. So the more things you can do, the better off, and the more value you create for yourself. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, before we go any further, let me jump into a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more with Dr. Blevins and Evan Willsmore. We're going to learn a little bit more about Evan and his journey and where he is now. So stay tuned. We'll be right back, guys.
Same great taste. Yes, same great taste.
Hit for my wins, I need my hands. The cypher's real, and play pretend. Came off the
The king, of course, to my left is OG Gabe Garcia, and we have Evan Willsmore and Dr. Anthony Blevins in the building with us today. Welcome in again, guys. Thanks for being here. And before we went to break, we got to really learn a lot about Dr. Blevins. I still call him Coach. Okay, y'all, because he's coming back. Believe that. But now
it's always Coach. It's always Coach.
It's always gonna be Coach. You know what I mean? But now we're gonna get to know a little bit more about Evan, because Evan's story, if you guys don't know, I actually know. Okay, I did my damn research and I watched some stuff. Okay, Pat Ruffino, thank you, bro. Oh. Yeah, yeah. I paid a lot of attention to that, man, and Evan has a remarkable story. So I want to go ahead and give you this time to just let people know who you are and where you came from and how you got to where you are, Evan.
Yeah, man. I mean, my story is definitely a unique one. I mean, as you pointed out, Jerzey at the top of the show, I turned 20 this upcoming week. So not like I'm very young, but I still like to think that I have a lot of experience. So yeah, man, grew up in San Diego, California. Did all my, schooling through high school out there. That's, just where I grew up. Had a great run out there, and then, was looking for a change of pace in life. So decided to go to college at LSU, which is where I'm at right now. Go Tigers, even though we just lost to Iowa, unfortunately. Not going to get into women's basketball on this, but, yeah, man. So still proud of our team, though. Still proud of our team. But, yeah, man, came out here to LSU, studying sport management. Had an opportunity when I first got out here to Louisiana to scout for the Hula Bowl. That was kind of the first official thing I ever did with scouting. Got to go to a couple of games out here at Tulane and Southern and UL, and it was a great time. Got to meet some guys that are already in the NFL, like Tajay Spears down at Tulane. Got to interact with him, and a couple guys that are on their way. Michael Pratt, Jaquan Jackson, again, both Tulane guys. UL had a couple too, but so that was my first, scouting experience, I guess. And then last year, in 2023, I got more involved with the XFL, which I had been covering for a few years up to that point. But I had a chance to, be a media member and go to some of the XFL games with credentials, do proper reporting. Because, while I was also really interested in the scouting and personnel side of football, I was also doing a lot of journalism and media. So I covered the Houston Roughnecks, went out to all those home games. That's kind of where my following came from, I think, was through my work with that. And again, developed, I don't know if a fan base is the right word, but again, a loyal following who appreciated what I did for the league, and had a great time, met some great players and coaches. And I still hold a lot of those guys close now. A lot of them have since gone over to the Brahmas in San Antonio, following in the steps of Wade Phillips, but did that last year. It was a great time. And after that, I had such a good time. I kind of decided, maybe my journalism career had kind of reached its peak. I didn't think it was going to get better than that. So wanted to explore more options in the scouting world again, kind of went back on that, did my homework there. And I was looking at a lot of CFL teams initially, and, realized I maybe wasn't qualified for that right away, but still something that I'd like to do in the future. So stepped back a bit, found the Indoor Football League. I had known about them through their partnership with the XFL. I had been to one game before in San Diego back when I was living out there, the strike force of the team in San Diego. So I went to one of those games. Funny enough, it was actually against the Knighthawks back in their inaugural season.
In their first season, yep.
Funny how things work out. But yeah, man, reached out to a lot of IFL teams, got some responses. But when Mike Davis gave me a call back in Vegas, I knew that was a great spot to be. And Mike himself, who's the head coach and GM of our team, worked himself in the CFL for a number of years with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and also had a year with the Toronto Argonauts, even though they didn't play in 2020. That was the COVID year. But he had some experience and just felt like that was a great guy to learn from. So got on board with them. I guess first, before that, I went to the IFL XFL Combine out there in Las Vegas, which Mike was he helped run that, since that's kind of his expertise. He did a lot of the free agent camps when he was working in the CFL. You know, they have some stuff for guys here in the States. So he helped set that up. I got to meet him out there, and then a couple days later, got that job. That was August of last year. So yeah, ever since then, man, I guess I've been doing this for 8 or 9 months now. Just been working through the off season to help put the roster together with him, and now we're here. We're 2 games into our season, currently undefeated. So life's good, man. You can't complain when your team's winning.
Definitely, and like I said, I'm excited about the Knighthawks season. They're starting off 2-0. And they got a monster at quarterback, man. Jerome Johnson. He's a bad dude. He can scramble and move around that pocket, and he has a good arm on him too. And then you got Quentin Randolph and those boys out there, man. Vegas has really got a squad. Now, one thing that a lot of people may not know about you, but you had a tough battle that you have went through in your life, am I not mistaken?
That'd be correct.
You battled Crohn's disease, is that right?
Yep. Yeah, man. That started probably maybe 2018, 2019. I've touched on this before. Definitely a difficult point in my life. And for those who don't know what Crohn's disease is, it infects your intestine. There's a lot of inflammation. Has to do with your blood cell count. So just causes a lot of discomfort. Hard to digest things. You don't get the same nutrients from what you eat, so obviously makes it difficult to have energy. And again, it was a battle for a couple of years, and again, something I dealt with through COVID. Unfortunately, I had surgery before I went to college. Actually, a year before I went to college, I had surgery that repaired a lot of that, so I'm doing a lot better now. And thank God for modern medicine, man, because without that surgery, I don't think I would have been able to do any of the stuff I've done, since I left, and, anything, whether it was scouting wise or journalism, all that would have, gone out the door. So, happy that, we could at least fix things. Crohn's disease, there's no cure for it, right? So I say we fix things, but it's still there. It's something that you still gotta figure out, and I know that there might be things down the road that I have to face, but man, I kind of just live every day, as if live life to the fullest type thing, right? I mean, I can't control what happens. You can only do so much, so I just kind of go out, man, and I don't try and purposefully not think about it. I always know it's there. It's a part of me that I've owned up to, but man, I just go out and live every day. I don't let it hold me back, I guess is the best way to put it. I take these jobs and I travel around the country, I guess. I don't let it hold me back. And so far, that's been a pretty good strategy, I guess. So
that's what's up. Now, since we've got some background on both you gentlemen, we have a huge week 2 preview of week 2 preview of the XFL, but a week 4 preview of the UFL, or excuse me, the IFL. I'm sorry. Now, right now, currently, Memphis is showboating in this game against the Brahmas, which is a little surprising to me because I'm rooting for the Brahmas to win this game, so don't make me look bad. But
I done told you last week, Jersey, don't overreact off of week 1. You know better than that.
Now, there are major differences in these 2 different spring football leagues because, Evan, it is safe to say that the indoor football league is a spring football league, correct?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Indoor spring football league. Now, Coach, you know about the outdoor game. You know that through and through, back of your hand. You know what I mean? There's a lot of differences with the indoor game. Now, Evan, can you kind of give us a little a little I guess you can say insight on what the major differences of the indoor game is compared to the outdoor game?
Sure, man. I mean, over the past couple months, I've honestly been trying to get acclimated with a lot of the rules. And now that I've been to a couple games, it's a bit easier to see. My job is personnel, so I worry more about the players than I do about the flow of the game. But no, man, I mean, the biggest, obviously, difference between indoor football and outdoor football is the size of the field. We got a 50-yard field in indoor football. Obviously, when you step into the arena, it's noticeable that it's going to be a bit different if you haven't been to a game. You're playing essentially on a hockey arena or a basketball arena, usually a hockey arena, but we use ours for both. So that's obviously the biggest difference, 50-yard field. And that's what makes the game a lot quicker, is when you've only got half the field length, guys are going to be scoring a lot more as long as you've got the right offense in place. So that's why, sometimes, I mean, you just had the betting lines pulled up. I think a lot of people are surprised, again, who haven't watched the league or these games before, why those point totals are so high. But, typically, I mean, if you're not scoring minimum 30 points a game in the IFL, that's typically a sign that your offense is pretty slow. I mean, the best teams are putting up, 50 or 60 a game, and you get these pretty intense shootouts. And I think one of the coolest parts about the league is, I always thought one of the best parts in any realm of football was, those crunch time situations, like in the NFL when you're inside the 2-minute warning. You got to put something together. I mean, that's where that I think really separates winners from losers, right? But in the IFL, I mean, you could have 30 seconds left on the clock, and even if it's a 10-point difference, I mean, you're not safe. And I think a lot of the guys who, and we'll kind of get into guys transitioning maybe from outdoor to indoor later, but I think some of these guys are a bit surprised at how fast the game is. They get there and they realize, like, it's not 30 seconds on the clock, you're up 10 in most situations in another league. I mean, victory formation, you're taking the knee, but it doesn't work like that all the time in the IFL. I mean, that thing goes all the way down to the clock hits 0. So
now, Coach Blevins, I think I misspoke. Am I right? You played in the Arena Football League?
I did. Played with the Birmingham Steel Dogs. Yeah, so I do have some familiarity with arena football. It's been a while. That was probably 2000. I don't know, around 2000, somewhere in there, when I played. But so I do have some familiarity with indoor football.
Now, compared to the outdoor game, playing on a 100-yard field, like Evan said, there's a whole 50-yard difference. Plus, you got the dasher boards or the wall on the outside. What is, since you had experience playing on both the outdoor and indoor level, what is the major difference for you, or what was the major difference for you in the two, leagues?
Just the size of the field and the space. I mean, that was the big thing, was the, and the one thing, like, people talk about, those dasher boards or whatever they're called, they're hard. That's hard home. Like, it's not like, it doesn't cushion the blow. Like, I mean, it hurts, like when you hit those walls. I mean, it really is like hockey, So, I mean, but for me, it was just the spacing issues within the game. You just don't have the space. Sideline space, end zone space. You don't have any of that type stuff. And I've seen people flip over in the stands and fall on chairs and get compound fracture of your legs, and it's a to me I think it's a more dangerous game than the outdoor game, because of the speed and the space or lack of space in the indoor game.
Yeah, I would imagine that you would have to just watching the game myself as a viewer, that, like, for the players themselves, you really have to develop your game a little bit because of the lack of space. Like, if you're a receiver, to be able to win off the line immediately, like you don't have that room to try to go and work the defense, work the cornerbacks and the defensive backs a little bit. So, and I do, Coach Blevins, I see those guys hit that hit that foam, and I'm like, you could just like, okay, yeah, that hurts. It doesn't look like it's something that's padded enough to where it's not hugging you and saying that's all right, stand back up, I got you.
Yeah.
No, man, you see those guys, they run right into that wall, and you can
Some
tell
of
that
them
hurts.
brace for it. I
What's
noticed some of those guys, they brace for it. Like they've gotten Evan in the game the last Vegas Knighthawks game when Quentin caught that touchdown. He went up for the ball and he knew he was going to hit the wall, and it was like he was just prepared for it. It wasn't like he was looking down or anything like that. He was just prepared for it, and it's like you got to train your body for that. You know what I mean? And like you said, Coach, it seems like it's a more dangerous version of the game of football because of those dasher boards, because it's a shorter field. Now, Evan, what's up with the 2 men in motion? Because if you notice, there's always, I don't know if you guys, whoever watches indoor football league out there that's watching, in the game of indoor football league, or in the game of arena football, in the indoor style, there's two receivers that can go in motion. How is that different? And how does that affect play calling for coaches?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, again, I don't have a ton of coaching experience specifically, but what I can tell you is, that's something that, you also see that in the CFL, where guys motion before the snap, they run up. They'll give you I feel like, a decent amount of leeway. Guys will get, penalized if they move, however many yards forward too much. And that happened to us in the first game, I remember. But, very similar to what you see in the CFL. The IFL has actually adopted a handful of CFL rules. And even if some of them maybe aren't direct, I always tell people that the IFL game, even if the field is way smaller, because CFL's actually got a bigger field than what we see here in America, but that's probably the closest comparison, that you'd have to any one of these, outdoor leagues or styles of play. And, it's actually funny because, one of our better receivers, our, oldest veteran, Caleb Hawley, played in the CFL for a number of years with Saskatchewan and Ottawa and Edmonton. And so he's been around. And, I think some guys who come into the league with that experience, especially at the receiver position, those guys might have an advantage. And that's definitely something that you look for from a scouting perspective. So, it's a good question, man. Again, one of those things where if you haven't watched the game before, I think you're very surprised. You're like, well, why are these guys, so far behind and they're moving before the snap? And is that going to be a penalty? Like, why are these guys false starting every play? But that's just the way the game works, man. And I think that it not only makes it look really interesting on TV, but I do think it's effective. I think, getting those guys running early, I think, on that size of field, I think that does present an advantage, So we've so far, I think we've done a good job of that, just given how our offense is played.
Because I notice also the receivers can only go 1 yard past the line of scrimmage before the quarterback can hike the ball before it's an offside or a false start or offsides. Is that correct?
Right. And that's what I was saying. Like, sometimes they'll give you leeway. Like, I've seen guys, like maybe 3 yards ahead and they just don't call it because it happens so fast. But the general rule is 1 yard. But a lot of that movement that you see before the snap is behind the line of scrimmage. Guys kind of, they get a bit of a jump, and then essentially from there, again, 1 yard, so you're a bit ahead, but you've already got that sort of warm-up. So it does make a difference, I think. Again, when you add in that size of the field, I think it's more noticeable. And as you watch the game more, I think a lot of people think it's gimmicky, when we do that. But I don't know. I feel like it does present some sort of benefit, in the league probably would have scrapped it by now. So,
right. Now, Coach, with hearing all this, any interest in starting to watch the IFL games? Because you can get them all on YouTube. They stream all the games on every on YouTube, so it's free to watch. Would you be interested now in watching the current game compared to how it was when you were playing in the Arena Football League?
Well, I'm a football junkie, so I do, I watch, a ton of football. A lot of it's been outdoor football, but, I've got no issue with football, period, whether it's CFL, XFL, NFL, IFL. Football is football. And I like, I think you can learn something from my perspective. I can learn something from everybody, you find one play you like, or take something from the IFL. Obviously, like it's still eight man football type of deal. So you got to add other elements to it, But I mean, there's still ideas that you can take from different versions of the game. So yeah, so I'm a football junkie, so I'm kind of watching a little bit of this, a little bit of that, as this thing is
scouting.
I kind of enjoy myself. I kind of enjoy seeing a lot of the differences in terms of the rules, learning a lot of the different rules. Like I said, I just started watching IFL. I used to watch arena football. I was a big Rattlers fan back in the day, and then just kind of went away from it. But now I'm getting back into it, and I love watching the rule differences and learning them. Because like Evan said, you kind of watch it at first, and you're like, what's he doing? That's illegal. And then you got to remember, wait, this isn't, NFL or, college football. Totally different set of rules, man, that you kind of have to learn and appreciate. And I got a question real quick for both of you. And this kind of goes to that. Y'all recently seen, how the NFL had their, they do the annual thing where they look over some rules and changes. And one of the big ones was the addition of the XFL format of the kickoff. And I want to know what both of you think of this because, Dr. Blevins, you brought up Turpin a while ago, Cavante Turpin. And I got to look at this, and I'm thinking this dude has to be licking his chops right now because a return man like him, this XFL format is actually going to, I think, give him an opportunity to elevate his game with the Cowboys. So if you don't mind, we start with Dr. Blevins. What do you think? Do you feel the XFL format of kickoff, now that the NFL implementing it, is going to bring more excitement back to the kickoffs?
Yeah, it's funny that you asked that because I recently just wrote an article, a piece for myself about this, and what it does, it's going to bring the kickoff and kickoff return back to the game.
Yes.
If you look at it over of course last year, 2023, I mean, it was, I think, when I did the research, 19 teams had a touchback percentage of 70% or more. I mean, there were no kickoff returns. Like TV broadcasts were routinely late to the play, and all you would see, return man standing back there on the goal line with his arms out to his side, signaling to his team, I'm not going to return it. So it brings an element back to the game that's been missing for, honestly, in my opinion, quite a few years. And it's an exciting play. And it brings, this is the play that gave us Devin Hester, really. This is the play that put Devin Hester in the Hall of Fame. I think he's going in the Hall of Fame, later this summer. And I get what the NFL is doing, the concussions, the injuries. I get that, wanting to make the game safer, and we should be making the game safer. And this is a play in the XFL version of the kickoff return makes it safer, but brings some excitement back to the game. So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be good for the game. It's going to, I think, the NFL coaches, special teams coaches, they're some of the most creative people in the entire universe. And they'll have some variations of things they'll do that'll make it an advantage for them and take advantage of the rule. But the low impact style of this play is going to be really good for the game once we get past the optics of what it looks like. I think that's, for the traditional fan, it's going to be the optics of it. Why are they not on the 35-yard line? They're on the plus 40. The optics of it will be different. But once we get used to it, it's like anything else. We'll get used to it and we'll move on. And it's going to bring some fun back to the game.
Definitely will.
Evan, what do you think, Evan?
Yeah, man. I mean, I definitely agree with what Coach said. I mean, they're doing this for safety purposes. And the reality about kickoffs is, I don't have all the stats and analytical stuff in front of me, but you're only kicking off so many times per game. But the amount of injuries that you see on kickoffs, at least from my experience of watching the game just over a couple years span, like in recent years, I feel like there always seems to be, there's probably more injuries than significant, kickoff returns. I'm not even talking about touchdowns. I'm just talking about guys actually taking the ball and advancing it out of the end zone. The one thing I will say about just the XFL kickoff is every time somebody brings this up, or just XFL rules in general, have to give a shout out to Sam Schwartzstein, who developed the XFL rules in 2020. He's currently working with Amazon Prime doing some of their broadcasting stuff. You want to talk about innovators, for the game of football. I don't think that guy ever gets enough credit. Like, the NFL is implementing this new XFL kickoff, and no one seems to be bringing his name up. And I'm like, this was the guy who brought it into the league in 2020, and that was carried over along with several of his other, again, innovative rules into the 2023 edition of the XFL. Sam's done some great things for this game, and I think that the more credit that we can give him, the better, because he's a great guy. He played football himself at Stanford, I believe, with Andrew Luck. So hats off to Sam, man. I mean, this is really his project. So
definitely.
Awesome. Well said, gentlemen. Well said.
Definitely. Question by one of our viewers, Michael Lathrop, and he's also a director of marketing for Fuel Sports Network. My guy, Mike. He says different rules and styles of play can be appealing to fans. And I had to put this question up because it's a great question for both of you guys. But how much does it impact a player's ability to showcase themselves to coaches in other leagues like the NFL?
Like, honestly, I don't think the rules really make a difference. Like, your talent speaks for yourself. That's what we're that's what we're projecting. This guy will transition well into the NFL game because of XYZ, not because of the rules of the game. So I don't think the rules really matter. You can take college, for example, receivers, like 1 foot inbounds in college and 2 feet. Like, I don't think it makes a difference. That doesn't make a difference to me. Because, like, once you get to the league, I'm going to teach you the rules that apply to this game, not the other game, and exactly. So that's all coaching to me, to be honest with you.
Evan?
Yeah, I think that's right too. I mean, I think, I just look at, like, as someone who works in personnel, I can watch less than 2 minutes of film and tell, whether a guy's an athlete or not. And what's great about, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, here in a bit, but like, what's great about the league that I work in is we have a very diverse talent pool. I can look at guys from FBS, FCS, Division II, and it doesn't matter to me because I can just tell who's an athlete. It doesn't matter what rules we're playing with or, where guys came from. Like, if you can play, you can play. And that's always my thing. Now, again, with the indoor game, it's only 8v8, so there's a couple positions that just don't really exist, right? And like Coach Blevins was talking about earlier, it's important that when you're a player, again, you have to do multiple things. If you can't do more than one particular skill, then it's not going to be easy to sell. But I think man, like, in terms of like rule differences specifically, like, guys who can play, in my opinion, can play, and they will adjust to whichever set of rules are given to them. And again, that's done through really good coaching, and you'll see that too. So I'm 100% with Coach there.
Definitely. Now, I know the show's been a little unorthodox today. We're going to jump into our last commercial break before we end the show on Fuel. But how great this is going, we're definitely going to continue on social media. So make sure you guys don't go anywhere. But we'll be right back after this commercial break with more from Coach Blevins and Evan Willsmore. You guys stay right here. This is the Gridiron on Fuel Sports Network, powered by Gateway City Sports.
It's time I get in the game, forget the money and fame. Stay ready, making sure that they'll remember my name. I got a hunger inside, when the numbers are tied, yo, I'ma turn it up.
Houston, we've triumphed. I've made it back to Earth with the cargo intact. The game-changing, time-sensitive payload is none other than the revolutionary energy flavor we've all been waiting for. Introducing Merc Mayhem Cherry Limeade. Merc Clan played a crucial role in securing this energy flavor, and together we've unlocked the future of power. Merc Mayhem is not just a drink, it's a statement, a fusion of relentless energy and bold flavor. The secret is out. Merc Mayhem is set to redefine the energy landscape, leaving ordinary drinks in its cosmic dust. Get ready for a taste explosion that matches Merc Clan's unparalleled power. Join the revolution, and let's unleash Merc Mayhem upon the world. Astronaut M signing off.
Ooh. Live on Fuel Sports Network. I'm Jerzey the King. He is Double G Gabe Garcia. And of course, we still have Evan Willsmore and Dr. Anthony Blevins in the building. Make sure you guys use that save 10% code to get 10% off your W order for fuel. So make sure you guys go ahead and check
those following the game right now, man. Case Cook has just went out.
Yeah,
looks like he got an injury, man.
Yeah, and it's 13-0.
That is, yeah.
Memphis is up right now. They went to halftime with a 13-0 lead. They're coming out of halftime with a 13-0 lead. This is shocking to me. I didn't think that San Antonio was going to be held to no points. But
come on,
it was a Memphis Showboats fan at the beginning or before the game. He was on the Fuel Tailgate kickoff show, and he chimed in and he said he predicted a 23-6 win by Memphis. And I said 6 points only? From the look of it, man, this defense is shutting down that offense of San Antonio. So it is a little bit
real quick, gentlemen. Let me ask you too. I've been preaching this all week long, man, with UFL fans. You know, in any level in the game, you never want to look too much into week one, right? Like, am I the only one that sees so much overreaction every single year with different leagues in week one? Because it bothers me sometimes, man. Teams are breaking off the rust. Coaches are figuring out what they're going to do in terms of game plan, what can work. Like, what is it about week one that is just constantly, and I'm talking about any league, just you get a lot of fool's gold in there. You know what I mean? Like Evan, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, look, first game is always tough. And in any league, I feel like the way that you start the season is never the way that you're probably going to finish the season, especially from a roster standpoint. We all know, and whether it's indoor or outdoor football, injuries are always going to, they're always going to play a role. Guys are going to have to go out. You're going to have to make some adjustments. So I feel like the teams that you saw last week, while I'm not saying that, I feel like some of those teams, did show what they're capable of. I feel like, some others, look at San Antonio right now. And, I love all those guys in San Antonio, but the reality is, I thought they were a wild card coming into the season. And just because they took down DC handedly last week, now they're playing, a Memphis team that's also very talented, but, it's not been the same result. So, I think that's just football, and some teams do get it together right out of the gate. They have a strong week one. They keep building off that, and they never look back. But, I think a great example last year, of a team, when you look at their week one versus how they finished the season, the eventual XFL champion Arlington Renegades. I remember week one, they were playing the Vegas Vipers.
Yes.
And, it was like Drew Plitt at quarterback, and nothing against Drew Plitt, but he was struggling out there. It was tough, and that was not a championship caliber team. And ironically, the quarterback that they were playing against on Vegas, Luis Perez, ended up being the quarterback that took them to the championship. So again, nothing's ever really finalized. Teams are always making adjustments, especially behind the scenes. And it doesn't matter whether it's like IFL or NFL. I'm sure, coach can relate to that, but any level of the game, you're going to have to make changes based on outcome because it's a winning business, right? At the end of the day, this is an entertainment business based off wins. And if you don't win games, that's when changes are made. So to me, it's pretty simple in that regard.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think week one, to answer your question, week one is a little bit different, from my perspective, being in the NFL, you have film from previous years and all that, but you don't know what's new, who's going to play. Like week one was always the hardest, trying to get a roster from, they're trying to make cuts, they're trying to add people. And it was always hard from that aspect, week one. Once you get to week two, week three, you kind of figure out what you are, and like for me, it was always in the league. Like I didn't think you really figured out what your team was until about week 4. All right, because you take, for example, you take a game where you win by 3 touchdowns week 1. The next week you lose by 2 touchdowns. Okay, who are we? I don't know. Are we the team that lost or the team won? I don't know. Then the next time you win another close game, you win another close game. Then you figure out, okay, we're a tough, resilient bunch. We got to play, really good situational football and be in the game in the fourth quarter. And you kind of figure it out and you kind of work through it. I think it's like an ongoing process. To Evan's point, it's kind of an ongoing process throughout the season. And, injuries happen, and who can adjust, who can, find the right pieces to fill in off the waiver wire. There's a lot of things that go into it, and then another thing, in like the UFL, you have like a month of training camp, which really 3 weeks of training camp. Then the last week is you kind of game planning. So, it takes some time, it takes some time, especially offensively. Offense is about timing, things like that. And you need that time. And unfortunately in this league, you don't have it. I think, both the two teams, San Antonio and Birmingham, won last week. They both scored 27 points in a win. I think both of them. Yes. Everything else was in the teens. All the other scores were in the teens. So it makes a difference, just the timing, and being able to coordinate everything and get it together and get everybody on the same page, from verbiage to understanding what's going on. So,
Definitely. I definitely agree with you, Coach, because you, like you said, you could win a game in week 1, lose a game in week 2, win another close one in week 3, lose another close one in week 4. You know what I mean? And it's like you're still trying to find that identity, but then you got some of those teams who they come out of the gate and could be that team that is just nonstop winning, and they know who they are from the jump. But then you got those teams who come out of the gate, start the season off 0-4, 0-5, but then after that 0-5 start, you could see a 10-game win streak. You know what I mean? And it could happen at any, like the movie, or the quote, the title of the movie is 100% correct. Any given Sunday. You know what I mean? A team come out and be that team to beat and look like the most polished team in the league, San Antonio, who's currently down 13 points after doing what they did to DC last week, but they're playing a better opponent this week. And like you said, it matters. You know what I mean? That your opponent matters. Their game plan matters. You know what I mean? Knowing your identity comes full circle when it comes to this game. You know what I mean? Having to know your identity comes full circle when it comes down to it. Being on that field, game time, you know what I mean? In those different situations in the game or during the game, you know what I mean? You have to be able to think on a dime. Like for some receivers, I looked at some of these receivers last week, and some of them you could tell that they were ready to go. There was a play for St. Louis game. There was a play that AJ McCarron threw the ball to Sailors, and we were talking about this earlier this week on a different show. And Sailors, the way he ran his route, he took too many steps for one. And I know this because I played wide receiver back in high school, and he took too many steps in his route. And when he made his cut, the cut wasn't, like one of those swift, stiff cuts, real quick. You know what I mean? You stuck your foot in the ground, you made that move real quick to where the defender barely knows where you're at, type of thing. And you shook the defender out of his shoes. But AJ McCarron, it was like Gabe was saying earlier this week on the Hellraiser show, it was like he was thinking of it in the NFL timing. He was, the way he threw that ball, it was more of an NFL timing type of thing for him. But the receiver was off, and the pass was off. Everything was just off about the play. I say all that to ask this: are there some players in the UFL who have NFL experience, such as AJ McCarron, who still have to transition a little bit, especially if they were playing in the league last year or at least on a roster last year? Is there a transition that they still have to make going from the winter league, to the spring league and the speed of the game?
I think there's always a transition because there's always people that you play with, and there's communication that goes into it, Well, I was with this team and we ran the route at 10. Well, we want to run it at 12. Well, you run it at 10, the quarterback's throwing it at 12, you get an interception, So there's always a transition period that happens, and I don't care what league it is or NFL or whatever, like there's always going to be that trust factor, getting to know somebody, getting to know how do I get to this spot at this time, because the ball's going to be here at this particular time at this particular point. And so yeah, I think there's always, to answer your question, I think there's always some transition that has to take place, some growth that has to take place, and some trust that has to be built within the process of getting to a new team, regardless of its NFL, UFL, IFL, CFL, whatever.
Right, definitely. Evan, Gabe, do you guys have any more questions before we let Coach
just alluding to what you were just talking about, and I don't think it's just like an NFL player. Like you look at, I think being a veteran makes a big difference. Whether you're on a different team, like we saw last week, Jerzey. I was telling you this last week that I felt that while players like AJ McCarron, came on later in the game last week, of all the quarterbacks in the UFL in week 1, it looked to me like Luis Perez was really the one from the opening kickoff that was comfortable. There was a little bit of rust on some of the throws, but I think a lot of that, like you look at AJ McCarron, you mentioned him, Jerzey. When you got new receivers, and it's like Evan and Coach Blevins both said, it's timing. That stuff has to be worked out. The chemistry has got to get there. Receivers, even if you have a veteran quarterback there, he's expecting the receiver to be there, for wherever he's landing the ball. So I really feel like when you have a guy like, Luis Perez, who is coming in off of a championship, and he was in Arlington second half of last season, and you have a guy like AJ McCarron, it's much easier for a team when they have a returning quarterback already in the scheme, in the system with the coaches, to pretty much find his comfort zone, as opposed to when you're looking at, with Memphis, with Cookus and guys who, they're going to get it. How soon they get it, though, that's the question.
Definitely. Coach Blevins, last thing for you.
Okay.
What does the future hold? If you can give us just a little insight, though. I know we don't want to, speak too much about possible UFL expansion or anything to that nature, but seeing you on the sideline, anywhere, any league, is that in the future?
That's definitely in the future. It's some I've talked to I talked to a few teams this off season back in the NFL. Nothing really fell my way, but coaching is definitely in my future. Where, when, that's the question that I like to figure out the answer to as well. But that's definitely in the future. This is kind of my calling, and we'll see what happens as things kind of move forward and progress forward. But definitely, I'm not done coaching. I'm not retiring or anything like that. That's not the case, So yeah, so we'll kind of figure it out as we go along. As time passes, we'll kind of figure that out. So
you don't want to.
Hey, we'd love to. love the hat. And I will say, I thought Vegas had the best logo, best colors of the league last year. So I was really excited for the opportunity last year. So.
Definitely.
So we'll see
you got to give my boy Jerzey a home again, man, because I cover the Renegades. I'm a Renegades fan, so we had to kind of adopt him this year because he didn't have a home with a fan base. And he's like, this is temporary, because he has it in him. He says the Vipers are coming back. They are coming back. So
even though we don't have Viper Snakes in Vegas, DJP, we got Viper Snakes in Vegas if that's what's going to bring back the team.
I'm not a snake guy, so
hey, I ain't either, but if that's
Hey,
if
Evan,
that's
Evan, question for you, man. Just hearing your journey, Evan, and everything and where you've been able to come up to now and your status within the IFL, you're still young, man. And that is a great thing. That is a great thing because
Hold on.
like you said, you've got some experience now,
Hold on, Gabe.
for somebody of your age.
Hold on, Gabe. Before you answer that, Evan, let's let Coach go. Let's end the show on fuel really quickly because we're going over our fuel time. But I know, Coach, I know you got some things to do. But Evan, I definitely want to get more in with you and talk some more IFL so we can break down some rules and things of that nature because I wanted to really get some IFL talk out this week. But we're gonna end the show on fuel, y'all. Coach Blevins, I want to thank you so much, man. I'm blessed.
Thank you,
I am
Coach.
honored. I really, really am. Like I told you, I was doing everything I could to try to get you on the Fan Gang Nation show because I know we would have had thousands of Viper fans watching. But I want to thank you for taking the time out today and spending a whole hour with us, man. Let everybody know where they could find you on social media.
All right. And I got to look up on my social media. So I'm on X at DocBPhD33. That's my X feed. LinkedIn is I think Anthony Blevins PhD, Anthony Blevins PhD, PH.D. That's me on LinkedIn, and then those are probably the two biggest platforms. Instagram, I forgot about Instagram. AB518 is my Instagram handle. AB518. So those are the three where I'm at. So look forward to catching up and talking. But I really appreciate you guys having me on and giving me an opportunity to meet you guys, network with you guys, and man, best of luck. Anything I can do to help, definitely feel free to reach out.
Definitely, we will. I will definitely be hitting.
Thank you, Dr. Blevins.
I can ask you to please, if you have a Roku TV, an Amazon TV, Roku stick, or Fire Stick, download the Fuel Sports Network app, and you can catch all of our shows that cover football and more sports to come. So if that's one thing we could ask you to do for us here at Fuel and at the Gridiron is to, download the channel and let everybody know where they can find us, you know what I mean? And then check out, the Fuel Sports Network because we're trying to become the main outlet for alternative professional sports to where people can come and find content, so just let everybody know about Fuel, tell them to come follow us, come check out our channel and help us grow into a television network.
Hey, we'll do.
All right. Thank you again, Coach. Man, you have a wonderful day. Evan, we're going to have a lot to talk to you about in just a moment. We're going to take a quick commercial break. I want to thank you for, spending the time with us and getting a chance to meet Coach Blevins as well. I know that was probably something that you've always wanted to do as well, but we're going to take a real quick commercial break, guys. We're going to come back and it's IFL talk. It's time for the indoor war. And I'm going to let Evan explain to y'all a little bit more about what the indoor war is when we come right back on the Gridiron, presented to you by Fuel.
Same great taste.